everyone, this is Darcy with Digital Darcy. I am coming live today in the group to talk to you about email marketing. So before I really dive into it, I just want to kind of announce, I guess, that everything I'm about to talk about is kind of coming from the perspective of content marketing, which is what I specialize in. Content marketing, is anything from social media to your blog to your email newsletters, basically anything that you're doing to get value out to your readers. So that's kind of what I focus on. Hi Lindsay, hi Carol, thanks for coming on. You can also do email marketing from a sales perspective and create, your sales funnels and send sales emails and try to get your leads that way. So there's kind of two different angles in any sort of content that you talk about. There's either content marketing or there's sales. At least that's kind of how I look at it. So anyway, I'm going to talk about email marketing from a content marketing perspective today, basically. And the reason that it's important is, as a small business owner, it's important to have as many ways to reach your audience as possible, first of all. Second of all, we all get kind of hung up on social media and building our followers and building our community, and what you really need to remember is that you don't own any of that information. So you could have 1 million Facebook followers and next week Facebook could shut down. It's not likely because it's Facebook, but they could. Or you could do something that violates their terms and they could shut down your page without warning. They can do things like that. And so, Instagram, Twitter, whatever the platform is, you don't own those people. And so if you lost one of those platforms, would the people that follow you still be able to reach you? And that's kind of where an email list comes in, because as you're building this relationship with these people that follow you, you want to get them onto your email list, have them subscribe, and then send them information on a regular basis, because that builds that relationship. And then if Facebook shuts down or Instagram shuts you down or whatever, then you still have, a way to contact those people. So that's kind of the main reason why it's important. And I'm going to just talk a little bit more about some of the other reasons why it's important and how you can build your list for your business. So I mentioned that it helps you build community. So as you're preparing your email newsletters, I'm going to kind of talk primarily about newsletters here today, but as you're building your newsletters or your sales emails or whatever you're doing, you want to think about the people that are following you and what's important to them and how you can help them, and you want to create your content around that. So it's really kind of the same as what I talk about when I talk about social media content or any of your other content creation and what you should post about. You should write about things that are going to interest your followers and your readers. You also want to kind of keep in mind that why should they subscribe to your newsletter? What are they going to get in their newsletter that they can't get from reading your blog post or being on your Facebook page? So you want to kind of look at it from that angle and think about what you can give them that they're not going to get elsewhere. As you do that, they'll start to look for your emails to come in their inbox, and they'll want to read them, and they'll want to read about what you're offering, because they're going to build that connection with you. So just keep that in mind as you're thinking about what you want to write about. Another benefit to sending out the emails and building that community is that it will build the traffic to your website. Ultimately what we want is somebody to go to our website and purchase from us. Whether you're offering a service or selling a product, or if you have a blog and your goal is to build your readership so you can make affiliate sales, whatever your purpose is for wanting an email list, at the end of the day you want them to buy something from you. That's the whole point. So you want them to get to your website, because on your website they're going to find your blog posts, they're going to find your list of services, they're going to find your products, whatever it is you're wanting them to sell, they're going to find it on your website. So sending those newsletters out is just like any other thing that we do. We post on social media because we want them to go to our website and buy from us. We write a blog post because we want somebody to find the blog post and go to our website and buy from us. So it's the same way with an email newsletter. You're wanting to get that information out to them so they go to your website. So it does help you boost that website traffic too. The other thing, kind of what I really like the most about email marketing is how inexpensive it is. I talked yesterday in my post a little bit about different providers that you can choose. Some are free when you start out. Some of them are paid from the beginning. It just kind of depends on what you want to use it for and what features you're looking for. But MailChimp and MailerLite are two that I know of that are free. So it's a really inexpensive way to start building a list and reaching those people. I know a lot of people, you might be thinking that, you get so many emails in your inbox and you just delete a bunch of them without opening them, and you think that maybe all of your followers are going to do the same thing. Or, maybe what am I going to put all this work into creating this newsletter for if nobody's going to read it? In 2019, HubSpot, which is a pretty big marketing provider company, they do a lot of really cool stuff. They have a lot of free training. They have blog posts. They have some software services too. Anyway, they did a survey in 2019 and they found that the average open rate is around 32%. That's the most recent statistic I found. And I know, like, for mine, I have two things that I send email newsletters out for. I have for Digital Darcy, and then I do for my blog for Preserving My Sanity. And both of mine, depending on the campaign, run between 25 and 35%. So I'm kind of right in that average line there. So if you think about having 1,000 subscribers on your email list and you send that newsletter out, if 25% of them, if 32% of them is the average, 32% of them read it, that's 320 people. So with that one email, you've reached 320 people. And so, like, if you compare that to how Facebook's been lately, with the way Facebook's adjusted all the stuff they do for the Facebook pages, they're getting an average reach on your Facebook page of between 5 and 10%. So if you have 1,000 followers on your Facebook page, 50 to 100 are going to see it, and that's it. I don't know about you guys. I'm actually seeing a little bit less than that on my pages here and there. So, if you compare it that way, you put the same amount of work, you put this work into a newsletter, out of 1,000 people, 320 people see it. Compared to a Facebook page, out of 1,000 people, maybe 100 people are seeing it at the most, depending on your page, of course. So you can see that you're able to reach a lot more people, so that's kind of cool. Putting an email newsletter together does take, a little bit longer than a Facebook post, I get that, but you are just reaching so many more people, and it's inexpensive. I know MailerLite's free up to 1,000 subscribers, and then after that it goes up to a monthly fee, but even then it's not expensive. If you guys have any questions as I'm talking, feel free to ask them. Robin says she needs to use her list and update it too. I forget to update it. Yes, that's important too, especially as you guys get into having more subscribers on your list. Lots of times what the providers do is they'll charge per email sent or per 100 emails sent. So that's where, kind of monitoring those stats comes in handy, because you will have subscribers who subscribe to get your freebie or whatever and just never read any of your emails ever again. Or they'll subscribe once and just send you right to the trash for some reason. So over time, once you start paying for those sends, you can monitor the stats, and it, your software will help you see who never opens your emails, and then you can actually send out like a targeted email to them and say, I'm about to clean up my list. If you don't reply to this message, you're not going to get these emails from me anymore. If you want to do it that way, or you can just remove them from your list. Either way, I've seen people do it both ways. So as you grow your list, that is something that you want to do over time, is make sure you're keeping it cleaned up. Because if people aren't reading what you're sending, then there's no sense in sending it to them, really. It's kind of the same logic as not wanting Facebook followers who don't care about what you're posting, because they're just going to drag you down in the algorithm if they always ignore what you post. So it's kind of the same idea there. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is just some tips and tricks for being successful in your email marketing. So the first thing, of course, is to be consistent. Again, like I talk about when we talk about social media, you don't want to have somebody subscribe to your list and then never send them an email for 3 months or something. You want to at least have a welcome email set up so when they subscribe, they're going to get a welcome email from you. And then ideally you should send emails out on a regular basis, on a schedule that works for you. I try to send mine out twice a month. Sometimes it ends up being more like once a month, but whatever you do, you should just pick a schedule that works and stick to it, because you don't want to have people subscribe to your list and then never send them a welcome email and never send them any emails, and then 3 months later say, oh yeah, I should send an email out to my list, because all those people that subscribed aren't even going to remember who you are or why they subscribed or whatever, and they're probably just going to unsubscribe. So if you're going to collect the email addresses, you want to be sending them emails on a consistent basis. Robin says, what's the best way to market your emails and newsletters to get subscribers? I'm going to talk about that in just a few minutes. That's a really good question. Another tip and trick I have is actually about the frequency of sending your emails. So I just talked about having a consistent schedule, which is really important, but frequency is also important, because I've signed up for a lot of lists here over the last few years, and you also don't want to bombard your people with too many emails. How many is too many? I think that probably depends on what content you're putting out there and what you're selling and who your audience is. I think more than 2 a week is too many, maybe. I guess if I had to put a number on it. I've gotten emails from some where I'll get an email every single day or something, and I think that's too much personally, because we all get so many emails, and you just don't want to kill it. So you want to build a relationship and be consistent, but you also don't want to send too many emails. Another tip and trick I have is about your subject lines. So if you think about this for a minute, go look in your email, where a lot of your promotional emails come in, and take a look at the subject lines and see which ones stand out to you, and keep that in mind, because when you send your email out, you want your subject line to be the one that stands out to them. This is something I actually kind of struggle with, because I send basically newsletters that have all kinds of information in them, and so I always struggle to narrow it down to one good subject line. But you really want to think about that. So I would just recommend looking at the emails in your inbox and looking at the subjects. Some people do all capital words like titles for their subject lines, and some people do proper case like a sentence. I kind of tend to do both and just kind of mix it up a little bit, I guess, but you might see different results with that, as you go along. But just try to think of creative subject lines that are going to make people want to open that email. And then I already mentioned the valuable content, but I think no matter what your business is, you can think of valuable content that will help your readers. I had a few months back, I did some monthly newsletter content writing for a pool installer company in Florida, and when they first contacted me, in my head, my first thought was a pool installer, what are we going to write about? But the way it turned out, we the pool installers are middle-class working Americans, basically, who hang out with their families on the weekends, and there's all kinds of cool stuff to do in Florida, and so we ended up turning it into basically kind of like a local tourist, be a tourist in your town sort of newsletter, where every month we did an article about their business, because that was the point of sending out the newsletter. So we did an article about their business in some way, and then we featured a recipe of the month that they could make in their backyard with their family. We featured some events that were going on in the area. We featured some fun things to do, different attractions. So we really just kind of turned it into a fun, here's what you can do this week when you're not at work sort of newsletter. And it was really well received by their readers. So that was kind of fun. So don't think that what you have in your business that you can't come up with things to share with your readers, because there's always things that, you just have to know your audience and what interests them, and you can come up with things that they'll want to read about. Okay, so then we're going to move on to growing your list. This is actually something that I don't spend enough time on myself. Robin asked, and I know Jess asked the other day too in a comment about how to build her list. She said, I want to get more than 5 followers added to my subscription list a month. I do too. We all do, right? So the first thing you can do is get those opt-in forms up on your website. There's a couple different ways you can do it. If you guys go to one of my websites, digitaldarcy.com or preservingmysanity.com, or really a lot of websites that you go to, I have a pop-up subscription option. So when somebody first goes to my website, it actually pops up right in the middle of the web page and asks them if they want to subscribe. And they can either subscribe or they can X out of it if they don't want to. Some people have mixed feelings about those. Some people think they're spammy. Some people are turned off by them. But the statistics show that they're really effective. Most of my subscriptions come from that pop-up box. So if it annoys a couple of people, I guess I'm okay with that because it seems to really work. So so that pop-up box is something that you could really consider on your website. And then depending on your provider, on who you use for your email system, there are some ways that you can integrate it into like a tab on your Facebook page. I used to use Constant Contact, and when I used them, I was able to do that. So like when people went to my Facebook page, there was a tab that said join my list, and they could go to that page and subscribe to my list right there on Facebook. Now that I switched to MailerLite, I haven't been able to get that to work with MailerLite. I don't want to misspeak, but I haven't seen that as an option. So what I do instead is, actually for a while on Facebook, you can edit that little blue button that's on your Facebook page. You can edit that to go to any web page that you want. So for a while I had that to say sign up. And then if they click sign up, you can actually have a subscription box on a separate page of your website. So, it could be preservingmysanity.com/subscribe, whatever. So you take them to that website right from the Facebook button, and then they can subscribe to your email list that way. I actually ended up switching my button back to just, I think, visit site or read more, because I have the pop-up on my blog. So I actually just have my button going right to my homepage. And then when they get there, it pops up and asks them if they want to subscribe anyway. But there's a couple different options there as far as getting them to subscribe from Facebook. If you're wanting to get them to subscribe from Instagram, you could put your subscribe link up in your bio. In your bio on Instagram, you're allowed to have one link. So if you wanted to, you could use that as your link. Otherwise, you can use Linktree, which is a free service where you can put multiple links and then use the Linktree link in your Instagram bio. So there's different ways that you can get people to that subscribe link from your social media. And then of course, it's always an option to talk about it at the end of your social media posts. So you can say, whatever your post is, and then, return down a couple times and say, do you want more great content from me? Click here to sign up for my email list. Or, if you don't like putting the link in your directly in your post because the algorithm doesn't like that as much, you can say, don't want to miss any information from me. Find the link to subscribe to my newsletter in the comments, and then you can put that link down in the comments. So there's a couple different ways you can do that there too. Basically you just want to try to think about all the different ways that you can be getting people over to that list. My favorite way is that pop-up box, but like I said, there's other ways you can do it too. Another great way to get people to subscribe is by offering them something for free as an incentive. So you hear people talk about lead magnets, and I'm sure you've signed up for them. Basically it's on Digital Darcy. Mine is a content creation tip sheet. So if somebody subscribes to my list, they get a copy of a PDF file, and it's a content tip creation sheet that's basically kind of like a Facebook best practices guideline, sort of just some of my best tips. So they get that for free, and then they're on my list. So depending on what your business is, over on my food blog side, I have a printable of a bunch of things that they can easily make at home instead of buying pre-made. So they can go on and get that, and then they're on my email list and they'll receive my monthly newsletter. So whatever it is that you do, think about a printable that you could make for somebody, because people love those. I actually kind of always request a bunch of them and then never really look back at them again for some reason, but people love getting them. So it does encourage those signups. Other ways that you could do it is by offering, if you sell products, you could offer a coupon code. If you have something to teach, like what I'm talking to you right now, you could do like a free webinar. You could give them, a discount offer, things like that. I think what I see a lot of is the lead magnets, but I also see a lot of free webinars. So depending on what direction you want to go there, you can offer them something like that and then get them on your list that way. You can also do multiples of those. I don't want to go too deep on this, but if you have like ideas for 5 different lead magnets, or maybe you have a couple of different segments of audiences, maybe you focus, like on my blog, I write about natural living, healthy cooking, and food preservation. So I could have a freebie all about food preservation, and I could have another freebie all about natural products that are chemical free for your home. So lots of times the audience on those two might be the same, but it also might be different, because there might be somebody who wants safe products in their home and they have no interest in food preservation. So like for me, I could have 2 different freebies, and then depending on my social media posts or whatever I'm promoting, I could promote one or the other to get more of those signups that way. And then there's ways that you can have different sign-up boxes and have them kind of feed into your software in a different group or segment than the others, if you wanted to keep those people separate too. Like a few months ago, I was part of a free Earth Day. It was like an Earth Day promo with some other natural living bloggers. And so I set up a separate group, a separate sign-up box and a separate group for those people, because then as they signed up for my Earth Day promo, it put them in a different group in my email list. So, at this point, if I wanted to follow up with them specific to the freebie that I shared with them or something, I have that list kind of separated. So you can get a little bit more advanced with your lead magnets and your segments that way if you want to. And I posted a blog post yesterday about the difference between lists, segments, and groups from Melissa Forziat, and she explains it really well. So if you guys want to check that out, I posted it in the group yesterday. Another way that you can build your list is to collaborate with other people and network. So I know you guys have heard me talk a lot about networking lately, but in the Facebook groups you're in, so many of them have the daily share threads. They have collaboration threads, different ways that you can meet other people that are interested in what you're doing, and you can network with them in the group and kind of build that list naturally that way, because as you talk to people and build that relationship, they're going to end up on your website, and if that pop-up comes up for them to subscribe, a lot of them are going to subscribe that way too. So networking, collaborating, doing those sorts of things can be a really valuable sort of indirect way to build your list too. And then another thing I wanted to mention is your current customers. So this isn't probably going to apply to everybody, but if you're service-based or product-based and you have a business relationship with someone, you can get permission to put them on your list in a few different ways. I don't want to talk about that too much right now, but basically, like, you could have it be in your contract that says, by signing this contract, you're entering a business relationship with me, and you agree that you want to receive my emails. Or if you don't want to have it be like mandatory right there, you could have like an opt-in option for them to check the box and say, yes, add me to your email list, and then from there you can do it. If you're product-based, you could have an option on the checkout page. I know I see that like when I shop on Kohl's.com and stuff, when you're checking out, there's an option there that says, yes, I want to receive your emails, or no, you don't. Lots of times I think I end up getting the emails anyway, even if I say no, but anyway, you really should only put them on your list if they're saying yes to that. But hitting those current customers is a good way to try to build your list too. Does anybody have any questions so far? I don't want to talk any more about the spam and the opting in part, because next Thursday, actually, Montana Washburn from Complianceology is going to come do a live in the group for us, and she does a lot of she provides a lot of information surrounding legalities and things that you need to have online and in your business to protect all of us. And so that's what she does, and she is going to be able to talk about the spam laws and things a lot better than I can. So she's going to come next Thursday into the group and talk about that for us. So that's why I kind of skimmed over that just a little bit. I don't want to cover anything that she's going to cover next week. Do you guys have any other questions? Building the list it's kind of a process. You know, there are things that you can do to build that list up, but you know, no matter what it is a process, just like building your followers. You know, it's more important to have interested people that are interested in what you're doing than it is to have a whole bunch of subscribers, just like it is more important to have engagement than it is to have followers on social media. So, you know, if you have a small number of subscribers, don't worry about it. I've seen people talk about selling out their programs and they only have 500 people in their Facebook group, or you know, they only have 1,000 people on their email list and they sell out whatever it is they're trying to sell. And so, you know, quality is more important than quantity. So just keep that in mind as you're trying to build your list. Any other questions? Doesn't look like it. Okay, if you guys have any questions after I'm done here, or as you watch the replay, feel free to ask them in the comments. I'll be sharing some more information in written posts here over the next week too about email marketing and different things. And then, like I said, next Thursday, you guys can tune in to Montana. I don't know yet if we're going live together or if she's going to come on by herself, but either way, she's going to have a bunch of really great information. So you can tune in next Thursday for that. Thanks so much for being here today, and I hope you guys have a good afternoon. Bye.